Of course, Vivek doesn't need an introduction, but I think I also Vivek.
These points are being presented by me on behalf of Gita Mahashabde and myself and the rest of the Navnirmiti team. Navnirmiti we call ourselves not an NGO, we call ourselves an SRO, which is a self-reliant organization. The NGOs generally are based on funding, whether foreign funding or Indian funding. But when you are being funded, then you cannot really be independent because there is always the agenda of the funders. So if one wants to take independent positions, then self-reliance is important. So we have tried to build the work that we are doing. We have one team in Mumbai, one team in Pune, a lot of people working with these teams, and there is a trust which is also, these are three different organizations which are part of the Navnirmiti group. Let me begin by saying that governments come and governments go, but education remains. So therefore, we should always be working with Plan A and Plan B. Plan A is when you have a government which is supportive, and Plan B is when you have a government which is not supportive. But education will not stop. Education, like the Constitution, will not stop. The governments come and go, but the Constitution remains. So, like the Constitution, education must and can continue in Plan A and Plan B. In states, this may depend on a state-to-state basis because governments are there in different states. So Plan A may be there for some states and Plan B may be there for other states. This is the first point that I would like to highlight here. The second point is that as citizens of India, and we are now going towards the 75th anniversary of our Constitution, we have certain fundamental duties, and one of those fundamental duties is the promotion of scientific temper. I will not get into the details. I think all of us here are very familiar with that. Now, if it is a fundamental duty of every citizen, Indian citizen, to promote scientific temper, then the essence of scientific approach is asking questions. So today, if we have an atmosphere in the country where asking questions is discouraged, and you can be, arrested, you can be prosecuted, you can be convicted, etc., for asking questions. But that is not nationalism as per our Constitution. That is not the Deshbhakti of our Constitution. The Deshbhakti of our Constitution is defined by the fundamental duties. And therefore, those people are Deshbhakts who are asking questions, asking the right questions. Whether it is about Adani or anybody else, this is the Deshbhakti of today, and therefore I think we have to be very clear about that when we, even in our discourse with the different governments. Now, the points that I will be making here today, or that we will be making here today, are there in the note. I don't know if you have seen the note, but I will quickly read out from the note so that time is, observed. The sphere of education in India has both significant achievements as well as huge challenges. We have to accept that we are working in the midst of a developing narrative at the national level as well as at the level of the states. Now, the historical background, many of the speakers already have spoken about it, but I would like to highlight the long struggles and efforts involved in India by Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule, Fatima Sheikh, Saji Rao Gaikwad, Shahu Maharaj, Karmavir Bhaurao Patil, Babasaheb Ambedkar. These are all examples from Maharashtra, but there are so many examples from other states which I will just mention here but will not, detail. Some of them have been mentioned by the speakers before me. Then there is the debates which took place in the Constitution Assembly on education. which is also the backdrop. Then there is the Unukrishan judgment where elementary education became a constitutional fundamental right. It was taken from the directive principles into the fundamental rights, Article 21A. At the level of pedagogy, there are the visions and perspectives of various stalwarts like Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore. There are the policy statements by various commissions from time to time. Again, you are familiar with them, I will not detail those. And particularly now, in the present context, because this is the law under which we have functioned today, this is what is mandatory today as a legal mandate. It is the Right to Education Act 2009 and the NCF 2005, which has been mandated under Article 7 of the RT 2005. Then in this historical background, we have the pandemic where, and it's, very, very deep impact on education, followed by NEP 2020, which was announced during the pandemic, and which tries to dilute, NEP 2020 tries to dilute what has been achieved in the previous historical narrative. Now, when here, what we would propose is that we should discuss the aims of education in the context of the idea of India, the vision, the policy, the resources, which are financial, human, educational, resources in the environment around us, universe around us, and the actual implementation of education at a mass mainstream level. The discussion of education at a mainstream level, I think, has to be our concern. We can discuss alternatives, but mainstream has to be kept on our agenda all the time. And the economic foundation of basic needs for all, including employment, food, health, education, housing, security, must be kept in mind. Sustainability, arresting climate change and building green alternatives must also inform the alternative educational systems we discuss. We do not have one proposed model, we should have multiple models, but with the following non-negotiables. The first is the focus on every child learning, universalization. Second, free for children, compulsory for the governments meaning local bodies, state governments, private managements, philanthropies, etc. The values of the Indian Constitution, and universalization of good quality education. The word good quality has entered law through RT 2009. Not just, it mentions good quality is there in law under Article 8 of RT. Now, our work in Navnirmiti has focused specifically on 3 or 4 areas. One is good quality math and science education. Second is popularization of math and science. Third is universalization of scientific temper and the problems that it throws up. And it has been largely focused on Maharashtra. But when we discuss in a body like this, which has representatives from all over India, some things I would like to highlight, which is that RT 2009 and NCF 2005 provide a legal and justiciable mandate for quality education for all. Not just a recommendation, but something which is justiciable. You can go to court on this. Together, the legal mandate today is for education of good quality, not mere access, but that which ensures good quality outcomes for all. NCF 2005 defines good quality education as that which ensures good quality outcomes. So it goes beyond access. The governments are trying to renege from this mandate by talking new parlance and vocabulary, attractive, ambiguous words. We should compel for the constitutional right as the minimum and go beyond that through our experiences. Therefore, NEP 2020 has to be outrightly rejected. Why? Reasons are: first, a complete disconnect from the Indian ground reality. No recognition in NEP 2020 that there's a pandemic going on, even though it was announced during the height of the pandemic. There's no recognition of that reality. The government is abdicating responsibility to address the post-pandemic crisis of learning gaps, which is extremely severe. NEP 2020 is in violation of RTE 2009. See, policy has to comply with law, not the other way around. On basic fundamentals. Number one, no mention of responsibility of government to ensure quality education up to class 8 for every child, which is there in law. No mention of completion of quality education as a responsibility of government, as in RTE, only mention of access. Recommendation of informal education centers for migrant children and for children with special needs. Informal education. Widespread school closures in the name of school complexes. And for children falling behind, the policy proposes that these children be taught by volunteers, including older children, retired persons, local artisans, and unemployed women. Additional point, pandemic is being used to impose online education as a new normal. Now, as every parent and every teacher and every child knows, online education is not something that is working. It is not a need of the children. It is a need of the corporates who have invested a lot, okay, in this whole infrastructure. Through privatization and commercialization as a policy, the transfer of domination and control of education into the hands of corporate sector. This is what NEP is essentially. And though education is in the concurrent list, NEP is being used to weaken the state's control and guidance and strengthen and augment central control. So in brief, it is a framework for dilution of education, government withdrawing from all its responsibilities, dilution of quality at all levels, escape from inclusion of all, a scheme for corporate domination, and important constitutional rights and values are being largely abandoned. So what is needed is education based on actual learning. Now, virtual learning cannot provide the foundation. Okay? Actual learning is where is the direction in which all of us can be thinking. In particular, constructivism, child doing activities and thinking for herself. Social constructivism, the child, human being, not just a social animal, her development is possible only if she stays in society. Knowledge and skills from the community, from children, parents, community members, experts, local and global, and thoughtful design of education experiments, and then learning through sharing and discussions between us, between the children and the teachers. Now, finally, in 2 minutes, I'd like to highlight what is there in RTE 2009 and NCF 2005, which is particularly important. Section 8, RTE 2009, the appropriate government shall ensure good quality elementary education conforming to the standards and norms specified in the schedule. So after RTE 2009, mere enrollment to access is not sufficient for legal compliance. Because under Article 7, NCF 2005 has been notified, mandated for the whole country as the curriculum framework. And NCF 2005 repeatedly in places defines what is good quality education. And I conclude by just reading out from those parts of NCF 2005 which talk about good quality education. It says, reading now from NCF 2005, the formal approach of equality of treatment in terms of equal access or equal representation for girls is inadequate. Today, there is a need to adopt a substantive approach towards equality of outcome, where diversity, difference, and disadvantage are taken into account. NCF 2005 says that good quality education is that which helps the child to overcome the inequality into which she was born. So the link between education and equality in the Indian narrative has been very strong right from at least the modern education. Overcoming centuries of inequality has been a very central concern of Indian education, and it continues to be a concern. Today, of course, there is no conflict, there is no battle between equality and quality. There is no battle between equality and excellence. But those are points which I think we can discuss. I'll conclude with this. Thank you.